Today I'm going to replace the Downstream O2 sensor on that there 2007 Hyundai Sonata. It's got the 2.4 liter double overhead cam 4-cylinder engine in it. The Downstream O2 sensor has failed. I'll show you the codes that I got pulled off of it here in a minute. I'm going to get it pulled over to the barn real quick. Alright, everything's set up over here in the barn. I'm going to pull the codes that show the check engine light, because that's the only indicator that we have that anything's wrong, because like I said, this doesn't affect the performance of the vehicle at all. So I'm going to go ahead and pull these codes real quick, just to show you what diagnostic information I'm going off of and why I'm replacing this O2 sensor. Check engine light's been on for 4 or 5 months at least, but I checked it a while back and it's the same thing that happened last time the O2 sensor failed. And since it doesn't affect much of anything, I just left it in there, but it's annoying me that there's a check engine light on the dash and the part's only like 10 bucks. So I went ahead and ordered it and I'm going to replace it. All right, so we have a P2096, and that is the only code that we have on here. So it's a stored code and a pending code, so that means it's reading it in this drive cycle, and it's also stored because it read it in two consecutive drive cycles. So I'm not 100% certain that it is the O2 sensor that's bad. I don't really have a way to test it. I'm not sure if there is a way to test if an O2 sensor is bad. There's probably a way. I'm probably going to look it up online as soon as I get done recording this. But it could also be that I have an exhaust leak downstream between the catalytic converter and the downstream sensor, because the upstream sensor is reading good, which means the fuel trim coming out of the engine is good. But there could be an exhaust leak somewhere basically between the upstream sensor and the downstream sensor that's causing it to show bad. Could be that the O2 sensor is bad. That's what I'm banking on, because this is kind of what happened last time and it's been good for 6 months after I changed it out the first time. Or it could be an issue with the catalytic converter. Like I said, if it is that, I'm not going to mess with it because those are expensive and it doesn't really do anything for me. So, all right, I'm going to get started changing it here. So this is the engine bay here, your exhaust on this 4-cylinder engine. This is the header, or this is actually the heat shield for the header. And the header sits right up under here. You can see right there above that flange, the O2 sensor is right behind that cable. I don't know if you'll be able to see this when I move the light. So right here, what I'm tapping right there is the downstream O2 sensor. That connects downstream of the catalytic converter. The catalytic converter sits right up under this heat shield here. The only reason I can touch any of this stuff right now is because it's not hot, because I didn't run it for too long. And the connector for that is one of these. I'll just have to take the zip tie off so I can see which one it is. So basically what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this O2 sensor wrench and I'm going to take that old one out. I put anti-seize on the threads last time I installed it, so it's not going to be hard to take out. Disconnect the connector, put the new connector in, put the new O2 sensor in that I got from Rock Auto. It's an ultra power O2 sensor for this car. Part number 2344439. Rock Auto will show you all that information. I love Rock Auto. I use it for most of my car parts unless I can find it on Amazon to get it here quicker, just because it's a little bit faster than Rock Auto. But all right, I'm gonna get to changing it out. Don't know if you can see down there, I just kind of have the camera perched on top of a tripod here in the engine bay. A couple of things in the way here. Can't find my little wire snippers, so I'm going to use a pair of scissors that I found in my toolbox to get this zip tie off. There we go. All right, so this connector right here is the one that is for the downstream O2 sensor. Take its little housing off. There is a little thing in here that you need to depress, and it just pulls right off. And then I'm actually going to cut it. Well, no, I take that back. I don't have anything to cut it. If I were to cut the wire, because I know I'm not going to be reusing this, then it would be easier for me to wrench this O2 sensor out, but I'm not going to do it just because I don't have my wire cutters and it'd be a little difficult to cut it right here. So I got my wrench on it. I'm going to move these coolant lines out of the way and break her free. All right, she's broken free, so now I'm gonna just twist it out. And again, you're gonna wanna do this while the car is cool, unless you wanna be careful around all this heat shield stuff that's over the exhaust. That's what the O2 sensor looks like. This one was actually not the right size when I bought it. This looked a little bit different than the original one, and this connector, you see I had to splice it in here. I actually spliced it in to the old connector because the new connector that this one came with did not fit in the car. So that could be a reason why it was failing. All right, open the new one and just comparing the connectors to make sure that they are the same here. And we do have the same connector. This up here is the new one. This down here is the old one. Looks like they match up exactly. And this looks, the size of this one looks a lot more like the original one. So getting rid of this old one. And this one right here actually came with some aluminum anti-seize on the threads here, so I don't have to put any of the anti-seize that I have on there. And then we just line it back up and get it started. Oh, I'm having trouble. All right, there it goes. Beginning to worry there that the threads weren't gonna fit. All right, that is threaded on there. Gonna go ahead and tighten it down. Not gonna look up a torque spec because I don't care that much. You notice the black housing that comes on this wire, that it's its own heat shield because it sits right up here against the heat shield of the exhaust manifold. It gets pretty dang hot. All right, that's torqued down there pretty good. Now I'm gonna get this connector put back on. This is the little housing that fits around the connector to kind of retain it. Let's see which way it fits on there. All right, that is on and reconnected. I'm gonna zip tie these two. Actually, I'm gonna zip tie it back up to here just to keep everything out of the way. Zip tie deployed, and that's literally all there is to it. Plug and play. Make sure the connectors match up. I'm going to undo the battery here and let the battery discharge for a minute. That way the code that it was stored in the car clears. I'm gonna pull out my OBD2 sensor again and check, because it will only throw a pending code if it's for a single drive cycle. So we should see it. I'll, let the car run for a little bit, and then we'll check if we have a pending DTC, which is a diagnostic trouble code for the car. And if not, we'll assume it's fixed for at least a little while. So, all right, back in the car now. Battery's all plugged back in. Let's see what we got. All right, no pending DTCs. I'm gonna get out there and check and see if I can feel an exhaust leak coming out around it anywhere. While I was waiting for the battery to drain completely, I decided to take the glove box off and see if the filter was clogged up. Found a nice sized mouse house in there. Got that all cleaned up, so now my AC is blowing even harder than it was before, and I'm thinking that was a contributing factor into why the blower motor failed in the first place. Bad in the wood. All right, so I'm just gonna attempt to stick my hand down here and see if I feel anything, any air pulsing out from around the exhaust without actually touching it, because I don't want to burn myself. I don't hear anything or see anything that makes me think there's an exhaust leak. So I think I'm just gonna leave well enough alone here and hope that that code doesn't come back anytime soon. So sensors replaced, vehicle's working good. Found a mouse house that I cleaned out of my air filter. Probably need to order a new air filter too. There's a little bit of droppings in there. But yeah, if you ever got to do this, it takes 10 minutes. Parts like $10. See you next time. Got finished just in time. Starting to rain again. Eating big time, ain't she pretty?